welcome and thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about another step, and I think every workshop I want to take you one step closer to the version of you. Everybody, unique version of themselves is unique to you. Normal mimicking people, places, and things out there, and so there's some things I'm going to talk about today, and actually show you some evidence, and then also I'm going to brag a little bit about David and his team. They have done a phenomenal job with this tablet and how to really simplify and integrate. I call it simplexity. How do you take something complex and make it simple that is really supportive of the person in real time? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to go to the tablet today and look at the upgrades. I'm very excited. Some of the
But I grabbed book after book after book, and that's how my writing got so good.
Just want to make sure. Thank you. All right. From last week's show, does anybody have any questions relating to last week's show, interaction? Because I want to make sure this is a real space we can talk about real things and not try to just talk to you or talk over you, but create actionable wisdom that you can go home and apply to. Or when you leave the workshop, you can actually take the necessary step. These shows has been mostly about you and how to work from the mind, body, and spirit perspective. Right? I've shared previously, as it relates to the purpose that you're here. There are three main purposes with infinite sub-purposes, right? And we talk about the purpose of the soul, all the essence of the light, the spark that you're manifesting in your infinite, perspective. So we call it the soul, and then we call it the mind, and we call it the body. All three has unique purposes or unique purpose that has infinite sub-purposes, right? And so that being said, it is important to understand that sometimes in your life's journey, you might be fulfilling a purpose, right, of the soul. And it can be difficult to comprehend that. And then also the purpose of the mind, which also can be difficult to understand and comprehend that. The physical body is a little bit easier because we become reactive to it. But the physical body is the limited one. And so it is important that you don't allow the physical body to lock you into more purpose, especially what we call distorted purpose that you have to facilitate. Some people call it karma, right? Reaping what you sow and all these different things. So I want to make sure that you understand these dynamics, because sometimes it goes beyond your understanding, and it's important that you get clarity of those things and also take control. I would like to start off because someone asked me a critical question and they were convicted. When we talk about belief system as being the developmental process of moving into knowing. And this person came up to me and with conviction says, "Do you not believe in God?" So, well, I absolutely believe in God. I mean, I believe in your God, but I do believe in God. Now we can sit down and discuss the definitions of our gods and see which one fits for you or which one fits for me, or how it fits for me versus how it fits for you. Would you be interested in seeing my God? No, your God is of the devil. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Right. And so I have to be positive. And a lot of time I always want to understand perspective because that's contrast to myself. And so I always ask the question, who is your God? And the moment he began to start to speak, I said, the fact that you can define your God makes you limited in understanding your God, because God is beyond your comprehension. Because if something is the beginning in which you cannot imagine, and something is the end in which you cannot imagine, and you exist within the spark, within the beginning and the end, how can you proceed? And so another question we're asking, well, if you don't believe in God, then how can you be blessed by God? So that's a fair question. So I said, may I counter the question with another question? I'm not trying to deflect from your question, may I just counter? Do you think individuals who have faith based on the physical nature of faith, that go to church, reverence God, respect the God that you define, when they pray to God for healing of their child or healing of their spouses or healing of someone, even the health of themselves, and the person dies and you come and others come and rationalize it, is that fair? Is that the type of God you are talking about? And they said, well, God has a purpose in everything. Absolutely. So if God has a purpose, why cannot my purpose be just as important as your purpose? So, and I asked him, I said, may I elevate you just one step higher? What if God has certain rules that governs creation. And that is the reason God cannot interfere. As I said last week, I look at God as the provider of the source of all source. So he provides the alphabet. I write my own story. You write your own story. You can use the same letters as I'm using. I can write a story that is unique to me. You write a story that is unique to you. You use the same source. Someone can write the story about hurting someone. That is the space. But the letter themselves does not harm. It just is. God does not condemn. God just is, right? And I'm saying that because we have these battles going on, because we allow definitions and belief systems that locks us in. As I talk about Plato's caves, that locks us in, keeps us chained, where we're not free to really understand ourselves. And to understand ourselves is to go within ourselves. And this is critical because there's nothing out there. It's just an illusion, right? Because the perfection of God. So what is it that governs creation from the perspective? And the answer is vibration, frequencies. Those are the rules of creation. If you vibrate on lack, you experience lack. If you vibrate on suffering, you experience suffering. If you vibrate on pain and any one of those distortions and belief system and negativity, you vibrate on that, you will experience more of that. It is not God punishing you. It's not God punishing someone else, just vibration. That's the law of creation. What are you vibrating? And have you accepted your vibration? Because that's one of the things we begin to deny ourselves. Have you accepted how you're vibrating, why you're vibrating? And do you understand what is being reflected? And that is critical, right? So in physical reality, sometimes we limit ourselves because we have this thing called fear. So I'm going to share my screen, and I want you to find yourself as it relates to fear. There's going to be some acronyms. Just find which one describes you, right? So it's just going to be an awakening practice, right? And I want everybody to grab a pencil, if you don't mind, or paper, or phones, right? We can use whatever mechanism you want to use. And please be true to thyself. This is not a judgment. This is a safe space. Which aspect of fear do you practice? Or which aspect of fear have you come to know? My favorite used to be forget everything and run back in the day. I'm from Africa, right? I hear some sound. I don't care who is around me, I'm gone. So that was fear for me back then. Anybody else would like to share?
I'll share this
Sure.
Mia.
Okay.
My answer would be probably unique because, I've had over 121,000 clients. So fear is a low vibrational frequency running through Qi that does not help, but actually attracts more and more people like it to do some whole nother crazy different stuff. So it's not a vibration I take part in. I just see it as like different package, same vibe. So I started saying, nice try, no cigar. So I don't care how you show up. I don't care what race, what gender, what action, what ism. I'm just like, nope, sorry. So you can't invoke fear in me. Like right now, the whites of your eyes could turn black. And I'll be like, ooh, nice parlor trick. Seen that, right? No matter what. It's like somebody was doing something. And I said, oh, I went to an African church for years, right? Just like whatever they do, I'm like, seen it, or no, not to go to here. So even if I haven't seen it, right, I know not to go into a low vibration, because the goal of any of the actions is to make you choose one of the lower frequencies, and kind of hover there like food. So I don't know if there was a trick one in here that's like a positive way to do it, but I'm like, nope, fear now.
What about false evidence appearing real? Because you now have awakening where
I would say false evidence appearing real is those of us who have been like life coaches. There's fake life coaches, there's real life coaches. So in the 70s, the life coaches were when we started the information, you had to buy these expensive, big giant boxes of cassette tapes and then videotapes, right? every single one's teacher teaches fear as false evidence appearing real. So I think
Yeah.
vibrationally, we actually shifted that saying because everybody knew it was just total BS. It's just something every life coach says. So I don't even think as like Chinese medicine doctor, I know it lost its frequency when not fear itself, but when someone says false evidence appearing real. Because every time somebody had a fake life coach and they went to them and it still didn't solve their problems, they discounted what the person had said. So they got another life coach. And that life coach
Okay.
said the same stories about the eagles and the puppies and the same false evidence appearing real. So I think we lost the value to the subconscious where they needed to understand it's not real. But I think on a frequency level, we changed the world with that phrase because we let fear know you are now false evidence appearing real, and we're letting millions know it. So I believe it worked on a subconscious level, on a vibrational level.
We have Ben that I think aligned with what you were saying. He said frequency enables all reality. So that
Marry me.
there you go. There you go. That was synchronicity. Frequency enables all reality. That is actually a true statement.
There it is.
When we look at these acronyms, right? These acronyms, some of them are action taking, some of them are perspective, right? Some of them are belief system, right? False evidence appearing real is not really asking you to take action. It's just saying something is false appearing real. There was no action there, right? Face everything and rise. You can see that's an action component to that, right? Forget everything and run is we got one that is flight, we got one that is fight, right? So we have different acronyms that require different actions in the next step. Remember when I said previously that I tell a lot of individuals I work with, I tell them I don't care about your past, right? And they get a little agitated to understand that. I don't care what has happened to you because there's nothing I can do about it. And plus, it's a figment of imagination. You're recreating it, right? It doesn't exist. What I care about is your next step. That next action step is what leads you to your next level of success. What is the next step you're willing to take and allow me the opportunity to equip you with tools and resources to get you there? But if your next step is to reflect in the context of thinking that you're having memory of something that's happened to you, and that's another thing a lot of therapists are doing that they really have to reconsider. Because when you tell people it's important for you to identify the problem, let's talk about the problem. Well, that's vibration, right? Some people don't know how to detach after they've talked about something, especially excessively, right? I have a young. Go
The
ahead.
cells are experiencing it too. Every time they make them talk about it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Those
And they get
experiences.
aggressive when they're talking about it too. I don't know if you've noticed that when they start talking about the emotion starts to creep back up because that vibration becomes activated, right? And we want to neutralize it. We don't want them to reactivate it because they're reliving it. And that means the reaction to reliving it must come next after they leave your office. Well, after they leave that space. Because I had a young scholar that, he's dealing with his sexual orientation, right? And I will always tell him, I need you to be centered. I need you to be centered. And what I noticed, a couple of other scholars was picking on him. And when he came to me, I said, I still need you to be centered, right? Because if you lose your center, you lose your compass, you lose your direction, because you begin to reflect that, because now it's emotionally attached. Well, he says he understood, but he said he had control. But I noticed a few weeks later, he began to reflect the very thing that he was challenging or he didn't like, right? So a lot of things that we have judgments are the same judgment that once upon a time someone else had towards us, right? And because we attach to those judgments, now we become judgmental. Right? It might be in a different perspective, but it's still judgmental with the same level of intensity. And so in that case, I saw his aggressive nature. I saw all that stuff. And I always say, become centered, because you've lost your focus. You lost your center place, right? And that center, like a number line, is that zero place where you detach from people, places, and things, and just find yourself and know thyself in order to know where you want to go without the distraction. And so I agree with you. I think the false evidence appearing real, people just regurgitate things. We don't educate anymore. We don't inspire. We don't empower. We just, what is the buzzword that's moving around? Everybody just throwing it at you in a creative ways. There's no more creativity, it seems like, within in the scope of educating people these days. It's just regurgitating. Even when it's wrong, they find creative ways to regurgitate the wrongness and trying to make it a rightness. It's like, it's still the same nonsense, just said from a different perspective, right? But that is the nature of what we've become. We're just mimicking. We're like zombies and just mimicking what is being said out there, especially with technology now. Everybody want to hit that million hit or this, and that. It's all about what is trending. And that is a huge problem when you're following the masses based on trends, because that means you're losing yourself. And so others might have a different perspective, focus, energy, and respond. That's another good one for us, right? We want to focus our energy and see how we respond to that situation. But if you have the wrong energy, how can you focus it to respond accordingly? And that's where that Qi Coil comes in. Qi Coil allows you to truly focus your energy in a constructive way so you can respond constructively, right? And then also when it comes to health, face everything and recover. Understand the recovery process is the reflection of your problem. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. For every problem, there's an equal and opposite solution. So you want to face everything by accepting it. Accepting where you are, understand that is your vibratory nature based on the totality of all the things that you choose to hold on to have you there. And if you accept that and you face that, then you're able to move towards recovery, because now you're able to transform from that. Well, we have those individuals that find excuses and reasons to remain in place. But my mom did it. My daddy did it. My wife does it. My kids does it. Or my kids are doing it, or this person, or the politician, or that person. And we find excuses and we find refuge in those excuses in order to limit our ability, because we're afraid. And that's true, we're afraid to take that next step. So excuses become the reason to keep us there. And I encourage us to not leverage excuses to hold us back, but find excuses to do something constructive, because everything I've said can be turned into a positive way. False evidence appearing real means that you understand that you're looking at the shadows on the walls and there's things deeper. So I have a saying, and it goes this way: courage is not the absence of fear, but the judgment, the constructive judgment that something deep within yourself can guide you towards something greater than that fear. Something greater exists beyond that fear. And it becomes a seeking process. So if someone comes to me, I'm afraid to die, the question is, what exists beyond death, right? Because once you recognize what is beyond death, which is life, then you no longer hold on to that fear of death. What about sickness? What exists beyond the sickness? Health, family, joy, happiness, right? When you focus on that, then the sickness no longer can vibrate in alignment with you, and you become transformed from that process. And so I encourage us, as we go inside and we begin to know that self, understand that fear is going to be there, because fear is part of that belief system. Fear is the ego way of trying to caress you and hold you and love you. The ego says, I need you to stay where you are. I need you to be who you are, because you're important. You are valid. Remember, you're just as valid being sick as being healthy. You're just as important as being sick as being healthy. It's just as important as being financially challenged as well as challenged. All the duality, both spectrum is just as valid. So the question now asks, which one serves you? That's it. Because it doesn't define you. It's just an experience by way of your physical actions and your physical reality, reflecting back to the higher version of yourself, so that way the beingness is in alignment with the knowingness, all that is. So it's important that we begin to acknowledge this fear. I see a lot of fear in us at times, and that holds us back. I've had fear that I've missed a lot of opportunity. Every one of you under the sound of my voice have missed opportunity to be wealthy. I guarantee you. The opportunity was right there next to you for those who are seeking wealth, right there next to you. For whatever reason, your belief system allows you to not see it. Every one of you that are sick had the opportunity right next to you to not have gotten sick. It was right there, right? The door was right there for you to shift into, but you didn't shift into it, right? Because all the potential always opening. The doors are always opening for you all over around you. But which one you're walking in and which one you're not walking in. And so I'll prove this point. I was talking to a colleague of mine, and a couple of old friends of mine became extremely wealthy using crypto. Now, some of you may not know this, but Bitcoin is like $105,000. Right? I had the opportunity to purchase. I think we purchased 200 or 300 Bitcoin, but it meant nothing then, right? And somebody had asked my colleague, myself, others, they wanted to trade it, blah blah blah, because I was watching the news that said it was fake money. Right? I was into the news at that time. Oh, it's fake. It's monopoly money. Don't believe the hype. So I give it to people randomly to trade it, and they just took it and whatever else, and nothing happened. And I saw that opportunity. And I remember around that same time, someone had asked me about share some current crypto with me, and I'm like, I'm not interested in that nonsense. And when I look at the result after a year, those tools increase 35, 50, and 60,000%. So I can't sit here and say that I have not been given the opportunity to be abundantly wealthy. My focus was in a different direction. And I know why I was distracted, because I wasn't interested in wealth for me. I was interested in wealth for the world. And that's been one of my greatest distractions. I wanted people to rise above poverty. I wanted suffering to stop because I had experienced suffering. I needed pain to stop, diseases to go away because we had the means to get rid of these diseases or these diseases, but yet it still perpetuates. And that clouded my focus, right? And so all of us, we're walking around reality with this tunnel vision. But then one day we wake up, we like, okay, so we need money now. Okay, we need health now. Right? We need family now. We need love now. And we with that same perspective of everything. And so we become subjective in a tunnel vision, and we miss the opportunity to have experiences that is constructive in other areas. Because we need a holistic wellness of a life. But instead, we're just walking through these tunnel vision, and we're seeing one wall, we overcome this wall. We're not looking high, we're not rising, we're not elevating, we're not rising above the distortion to see perspective. So that's one thing I've noticed that, and I can say that. That's why I tell everybody, whatever has happened to you is your fault based on the decision and the truth that you choose to accept. Beginning of this conversation, I had a gentleman who talked about religion in its context where it was most judgmental. And I've had previous conversation with individuals. I had a gentleman who ran a church who told me that cancer is God's punishment to the sinner. But he died from cancer. And there's no judgment from him. He reflected that. Yeah. And I have someone else, I have multiple people that have created judgment in certain particular sicknesses. Oh, that's the devil, that's this, that's that. And I see them having the same experience that they had judgment on other people, because that which you project will reflect. So I'm encouraging my family to learn to let go. It's time for us to let go of the judgments and learn to open that space, that unconditional space. That's what we need to start practicing. It's going to take practice. It's going to take practice to learn to accept others where they are. And that's a lot of practice, because you're going to have some foods. Yeah, that's me being judgmental, right? They're going to come around. And in fact, soon you decide, I'm going to walk this path of neutrality. That's when they all just come at you. Like, where are these crazy folks coming from? Everybody and their mama's going to come at you to test you. You know why? Because your current state loves you. The vibration that you are matters, but it no longer serves you. So you have to leave it. You don't destroy it. You don't get rid of it. You leave it. You take your awareness and move to another. You don't condemn it. You don't judge it, because it needs to exist. Without its existing, you never know who you truly are. If I would say, Mia, if you claim to be a good person, right? Mia, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
If you say you claim to be a good person, how do you know that?
I think in order for the mind to filter that they're a good person, they would have to have a series of judgment of what is a good person, and a separate series of person is what is a bad person. And the subconscious would even register a gray scale of excuses in case they broke some of their own judgments to still go back to reset to being a good person in their mind.
Absolutely. Duality. You cannot say you're good without you reflecting bad to know thyself. So what you're reflecting, just accept it, because it's better to perceive it out there than to experience it within and to live it. Right? So learn to accept other people's sacrifice for your edification and development. So if somebody else is out there and you never know the story behind the story, don't judge them, just love them, but then leverage the tools. I keep going back to these tools because this tool is what equips you to stay grounded and neutral, because neutral gives you perspective. Neutral has no attachments, because when you say I am this, you're also that contradicts this, because you will reflect it. And a lot of, if you look at, let's say, healthy people, a lot of people who push health, somehow, some way, later in life, they're some of the non-healthiest people. They're just struggling to be healthy. I mean, you spend your whole life being healthy. What is going on? And then those people who just was neutral, natural, just living life and accepting life and embracing life. People in Africa living 110, 115 years old, and they drink alcohol, they eat whatever, but somehow the mind is different. They never perceive that the food is toxic. They never believe. So without that belief system, it doesn't exist. And some of you out there say, Mr. G or Jossie, I don't agree with you. And I'm going to share something, because I did challenge this belief system, because everything that comes, I challenge it, right? I say, can there be someone out there that mind is so neutral on something that there's no judgment in it, that anybody else will be dangerously impacted by it? And I remember going through that phase, and I came across Stan Lee, Superhuman. And if you haven't watched that show, I suggest you get on YouTube and see some of the things that challenges your beliefs. And the one I saw was a man that tied himself to electrical cords or whatever, plugged himself in, and cook an egg on his hand on a plate. And something in my mind said, do you want to try that? And then the other part of my mind said, the devil is a liar. That was back then, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not stuck on stupid, right? But how is that possible? And when you hear the story, there was a belief system in him that says, this cannot harm me. But most of us, first thing we learn, don't go near that socket. Learn belief system. So a lot of things that you are, I'm telling you and sharing with you, I'm inspiring you to know that it was learned behavior. It's not your fault. Not your fault that you're going through the things that you're going through. The disease in your body is not your fault. And the problems in your relationship is not your fault. Just accept it and just be neutral, because it's learned behavior that develops a belief system that you attach, that causes the vibration to reflect more of that. And if you understand that, then you can move forward to the next step or the next place in your evolution, because you're so much more than just even this physical construct. So I wanted to pause before I jump on, because now I'm going to take you to the technology so you can see how I program myself, because I'm seeing a lot of shift taking place in my life in ways that I'm noticing. Okay, this is something critical that I'm noticing with this device. I'm not going to fake the device for nobody out there. I love David. I love David like a brother. I love the whole team. I love them, but I don't fake nothing, because I have to be true to myself. I have certain codes of ethics that say I refuse to compromise that would be me, right? Because this was guiding me. So I have certain rules. I can call it my judgment, but these are my rules I refuse to compromise, right? So when I'm doing something, I have to be authentic. It also has to do that I'm autistic, and I can get really agitated when I see something. I call it people being stuck on stupid, right? We're not stupid, but we get stuck on it, and I get really agitated. Why are you doing that? You know it's not right. But it is what it is, right? That being said, I use this device and I'm testing it, and I'm seeing amazing things happening, right? But they're not happening on a superficial level. They're happening on a vibratory level. And I'm beginning to recognize that vibratory level. And I'm beginning to see things that are melting away that I used to be attached to. Last week I talked about relationship. My relationship is balance. My kids balance. For example, Kyle yesterday was running around the house and smashed her head really bad, where most people would have ran into the hospital. I simply took a deep breath and just knew it was okay. And if you were to see her right now, from yesterday to today, there's no, well, she got a little scratch here, but her whole head had an indentation in it. Now it's closing up. That is the confidence that I have, that if I'm vibrating accurately, there's a counter response to that. I can align with it. It's a different type of mentality. And so I know I feel safe. You know, my family is safe. You know? And it has to do with running these frequencies. And I run the frequencies on her as well. And another story, my twins, they were born as preemie. And now they're in the 99th percentile of healthy kids, where they were in the low 1 percentile. Again, that's that knowingness that is okay. That is that vibration. And that is that vibration with expectation. And so I'm learning how the vibration is holistically healing other areas of my life, because my ultimate goal, I say, I want peace. I want happiness. I want joy. I didn't say I want money. I didn't even claim health. I just want those things. But to have those things, I have to have the things around me to guide me towards those things. And that's what I'm moving towards. And I'm hearing opportunities and seeing opportunities more clearly now than I've ever done, even though I have been involved in some very complex things around the world. And that being said, it comes down to how you leverage this tool to guide you in your day-to-day walk. Because if you think the tool is fixing a problem and you attach to that problem, there's creative ways that problem will come. It will make you believe that problem is gone, but it will come in another way, because you haven't seen beyond the situation or the distortion. And you have to learn to see beyond it. So I'm going to pause here and see if anyone have questions that they would like, or thoughts they would like to interject. Anybody else, while we're waiting on Ben, anybody else would like to come off mute? Rick.
Pretty good. How are you guys?
I'm blessed. I'm well. Thank you. What about you?
Oh, I'm trying to stay warm. A little cold up here where I'm at. But I guess I got a big question that it relates to what we've been talking about. And the thing that is hard to fathom is the right frequencies do work almost instant. When we go to the more on the spiritual side or the abundance and all that, and I know we have to have the frame of mind, okay, which also helps speeds up the process. But it's a little tough trying to maintain your high vibration as well as the frequencies we listen to, because isn't that a part of the subconscious that's interrupting, even though that we're unaware of our being in now time? That's kind of, like if you're lacking or if you're suffering or whatever it is, maybe relationship or financial, it still has an effect. And it seems like it doesn't have the same instantaneously as the solid tones, as like a sore muscle or a parasite cleanse or the feeling of love, because that's almost instantaneously. I just like it's going 1 foot forward, but maybe 2 steps back, and then later on, then you get a little forward again. It's just hard to maintain. So as a mindset, how does a person or an individual, I guess there's grounding, there's all kind of little tools to help, and as well as your diets, but being around the people, you're picking up that energy, like you said earlier, that energy will ripple whether it's good or bad. But if you're higher, that energy will transform into that higher energy from them to you. So where's that little fine, like the fine comb through your hair that will pick it more, that you can not drop, but still either hold or maintain or gradually grow. That's the thing that I'm struggling a little bit with, and I want to know what your insights are in that.
Absolutely. So let's guide that process, right? The Rife technology and Rife leverage microcurrency, right? And most of us are familiar with the TINs and other things that send signals directly to the cell. Right? That's the physical, right? And it impacts a reaction. Right? So it's a cause and effect. And just like you scratch right now, the cells comes back and heal. That's different, right? Because we're reacting. Remember, I was talking about the mind, body, and spirit, right? The body has the ability to experience duality, life and death. Every time you scratch, something dies off the cells and then new cells comes back. So everything is happening on that level, right? So let's go back to when I said the soul conceives, the mind retrieves, the body perceives. The soul conceives all possibility for you, Rick, and for everyone else. It's already there. The mind is the platform that is sitting there for you to pull from that, the reality, onto it so you may perceive it physically. So the physical aspect is the reflection. Now, you're asking to work backwards to tap into the soul, tap into the higher self, so that way you understand. Right? And that's where vibration is, because the language spoken backwards is vibration. When you vibrate, it sends a signal to the platform, and the platform animates the reality through creative means that you're going to experience next. Right? That is the language of God in itself, if you want to ask it, the language of reality, right? You vibrate, that is your truth. When you're around certain people, as you said, you vibrate based on the environmental conditioning. You begin to vibrate. It takes time, sometimes 21, 30, and longer days, right? But you begin to vibrate. You send the signal to the platform, which is your mind, and the mind creates. So the question that you need to ask yourself, because you can't tell, most of us can't tell physically the vibration. You can identify your vibration. Am I vibrating positively? No. So where you can tell your vibration is the thought patterns that is happening. If the thought patterns is limited, you're vibrating on a limited level. Okay?
Yeah, and that's as key. You speak, right? Yes.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about things, people, places, and things, that is the definition of who you are. Right? So if you ask yourself, Rick, today, from the beginning of this morning to now, was your thought positively constructive, or was it negatively constructive? And I say constructive because that's what's going to construct your next step. And you can say, well, I got up this morning, it was cold, looked outside, I didn't feel like going out there. And then you start thinking about people, places, and things. That's where you examine where you are. You do not examine where you are on a physical level, on a vibratory level. Right? On a physical level, we can react. Right? We can react to a situation. We react, but we get stuck in that loop when we react to it. That's why even with the Rife, we keep seeing the same sickness coming back, because we're not going to the programmer. We want to go to the programmer, which is the soul, right? And to go to the programmer, we got to change our vibration to send a signal, right? Like computer language, I don't care. When we know we have translations now, but you can't talk to your computer. Computer automatically does it without the translation of words to binary codes and be able to receive it in the computer language and the computer respond in kind, right? If that language or that programming wasn't there, you can talk all day to the computer. Computer is going to do nothing. Like some of you have computers right now without touch screen. You can rub on it, squeeze on it, talk to it. It's not moving because it doesn't have the programming. Right? So the programming has to come into it to allow you to experience it. So you want to get the programming into the mind. So now we leverage the technology and says, okay, all I need to do is change my vibration, but what do I want to vibrate at? Well, I want to vibrate at the things that is going to be the outcome. So I want to run love, compassion, and positivity. So I run those frequencies and I allow myself to saturate. I do not consider the outcome. I don't think about the outcome, Rick. That's where we fall short. Because once you attach to the outcome, you begin to attach to the how. The how is none of your business when you tap into this aspect of it. Get away from the how. The what, the when, the where, the why, the who is you. The how is the universe, because you don't have the capacity to move people, places, and things for you to receive the things that you want. You only seeing yourself move, right? And if you move, right, you have blockages because you're physically moving. So you have limitation. So if I say, Rick, move, right, there are people that needs to transform what you need to do, maybe in London, right, or maybe in Australia, but you can move there to get the blessing that you need. So you're stuck after a while. But what ended up happening, ready for this, Rick? When you vibrate, you send signals to the entire universe, like the person was right next door. And then what is going to happen? Let's say if your blessing was in the hands of someone in Australia, and you begin to vibrate with, let's say, a health condition you have, right? And you begin to vibrate and vibrate on the outcome of the health condition being gone. You want to focus on that. Somebody wakes up in the morning in Australia, feel inspired and says, you know something, I want to take a vacation in America. I want to see what the snow is like. I hear all these snow and I want to go have some fun. He just feels inspired. He don't know the reason, because I wouldn't get up and want to go nowhere with snow, right? But he does, right? He wants to experience snow. So he gets excited and he comes to America and he happens to bump into you. You started having conversation and boom, he gives you the tools that, because in Australia, it exists there. You didn't put that together. The universe did that because you are vibrating, and creatively, you didn't pay for his flight. You didn't pay for his hotels. You didn't pay for nothing. You're not in control of that. And he shows up and gives you those tools. And then you take the tools like, why is nobody else around me? That's another attachment. Don't focus on that again, because now you're trying to control again. Go back to that place and says, okay, interestingly, I need to go back and start to focus on vibrating so I can start sending signals everywhere. I want to send signals for love. I want to send signals for peace, joy, and happiness, and the people, places, and things will guide you. You will be inspired to move to the place that is going to inspire you. There was a man who had cancer in this country, and the doctor that said, we've done everything we can do. There's nothing else we can do. You're as good as gone. And he was getting depressed and different things. And he just decided, you know something? He felt inspired because there was something in him that realized, I want to experience the outcome. So he stopped thinking about the cancer and he just wanted to experience life. And where it was triggers, because he said, I have nothing right now. I have everything is gone. I'm getting ready to die. So I'm just going to live my best life. Excuse me. So he wanted to live his best life in that moment. And the moment he began to feel inspired to live his best life without the restraints, he was inspired to move to another country. And when he got to that other country, he was inspired to farm, do a little gardening. He was inspired to plant certain plants in that country. And this man lived, I believe he was in his 20s or 30s, and he lived to almost over 100 years old. You can't plan that out, because when he was in control, the control kept him out of control. So that is what we have available. And so I'm going to guide you guys real quick through the process so you can see it and see how David has simplified that process to give you more access to be able to leverage it better, right? So well, Rick, go ahead.
It definitely does help. I mean, it's just that, you know, the movie The Green Mile, where the big black guy takes all the yucky stuff from the humans that he encounters and heals them. That's what I feel like. I just have a hard time getting rid of that yuckiness in order to place it or store it or get rid of it. And then it brings me down to a level that I don't get recharged again. That's what it kind of feels
Rick,
like.
You don't have it. Rick, you don't have it. You just believe you have it. See, that's the difference. You're going with the vibration that you have it. So you're sending the signal to the mind. And the mind says, oh, that's what he vibrated. Let me find creative ways to give him more. But you don't have it. There's no way you can have it, because energy never really touches. Nothing really touches you. You're that absolute. You create the illusion of people, places, and things being attached to you, and it's just around you, right? So the more you believe you have it, the more you will have it. So congratulations on having it. But if you feel like it no longer serves you, then let it go. Don't believe you have it. Don't believe, because sometimes we want to validate and justify. No, don't do that. Just let it go completely. Detach from it. And to do that, run the frequency of just balance. Something as simple. I think David has a free, just balance one, right? And then clarity of the mind. Because you want to clear the canvas of the mind. And that's where, when we go into our mind with this frequency, it wipes everything off the canvas to allow you to have a fresh canvas to paint based on your vibratory nature. And so quickly, go ahead.
I was going by the way of shielding, so I would not be a sponge to that stuff, because that way I could heal better and rise better and, you know, share that way, versus just it gets attached and gets looped. And I mean, I get response from people from that, and I see it. I see the goodness in what it's done on them.
Yeah.
It's just that it just takes a toll on me through the years, that it's not that I don't want to do it. I just want to get rid of it. You know?
Yeah. And I understand. We talked about it in the previous show, and I understand. But one of the things I was always saying, if you learn to shield yourself, you shield yourself from the positive and the negative also. So the goal is to, yes. Go ahead. Mia, before I take your call, I just want to show you guys quickly what this technology is, and then I'm going to answer your question, right? So this is what David has done to this app that gives you more flexibility. So that's my love frequency. So you can see it says love. I have Venus and I have some love frequency. I have heart chakra and different things, right? But what is amazing about this technology now, right? David have added this plus right here in the corner, right? And let me see if I can bring that down a little bit more so you can see. I don't know if you can see the writing on it. Let me see if I can see the writing on it. It's not showing the writing. But on these tabs, one here, this one right here says, add silent quantum pro. It says add silent quantum, add Rife to your playlist. So when you click it, it gives you access to all the quantum support, the scalar support. And you just click those dots and says, I want all of that in my playlist, right? So these are the playlists. Sorry about the clarity of it. And once I hit that, I'm gonna go here and say add, and it's automatically in my playlist now. Then I'm gonna go back and say, okay, I wanna add more. I wanna add some Rife to my frequency. So I can go ahead and add Rife, and then I can go to the playlist and you can see all the name of Rife and just click those boxes and add it directly into my playlist by hitting that plus, right? And then I can also go to the top and attach to my device. If you have a device, attach the silent, and then just click it and tell it to vibrate using your device. So not only have David set this up to be seamless and his team, it is now impactful because, like you were saying, Rick, I'm going to set it and I'm going to forget it because the how is none of my business. And I'm just going to saturate myself in it while I'm doing everything, and I'll begin to see the shift, right? And you can create your own playlist. So this tablet, David and his team is upgrading. It's a beautiful tool that you now have to equip you with. And remember what I said, you are inspiring the universe to conspire to bring the things and the people and the places to you, or find the path of least resistance for you to get to it. Don't worry about how you're going to get to it. If you start worrying about how you get to it, the universe steps back and says, okay, you got this. And you don't on a physical level, because then your platform, the mind, becomes scattered. You got all type of layers on it and you haven't cleared. So it's hard for you to really conceptualize what is on that platform for you to read and experience, because that platform, your mind, is where you're reading your vibration from back into the physical reality. So you send the signal vibration to the mind. So think of your mind begins to vibrate based on your vibration, and it begins to create the reality that it pulls from the soul. And the soul, because the soul is all that is and all that is not. So the soul, nothing new. So all potential exists, but it only pulls the potential, it only collapses the wave potential for you on this platform. And if you vibrate, you'll begin to reflect that back to your reality. So I would say, don't worry about the control factor. And that's your journey, Rick. Let go of control and watch what happens. And that's going to be a challenge because you're attached to those control. And I understand we spend a lot of our life, we want control, but we feel like most of our lives we're out of control. So give it a shot to float. Be like when we talk about the butterfly, be free to fly, right? And just see where you end up. And you will see where you end up is exactly where you're desiring, but you would have never taken that path.
True, true.
Mia, I didn't mean to stop you from asking a question. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good. If you shield, you create a reality that there must be something you have to shield from. And you also lower your frequency and block love too.
Because you're shielding, you're protecting from positivity and negative. So
right. And
you want to be free.
You're telling another frequency that it has the power to invade your frequency. Otherwise, why do you shield? You don't need to shield if they can't touch you.
And the question is, Mia, ready for this? What did you shield inside of you?
Exactly.
Because if it's inside of you, you didn't protect yourself from it, right? Because if you're reflecting it from people, it's inside of you, Rick. And that's what you cannot shield yourself from. And so if the vibration is all about sending signal to the mind, then you have to say, oh, I need to work on me inside. I don't need to focus on nothing outside. And then let me just see what happens. I challenge all of us. This is actionable practice. You can work on you. You can work on people, places, and things with high level of efficacy. Well, you can work on you day, night, morning, afternoon, any time of the day, you can work on you. And I'm asking you to work on you, leverage this technology. Start with the basic frequency if that's what it takes. Balance, luck, because luck is a shifting frequency, and just run it consistently and be in that area of it, encompass yourself with it and experience the vibration of it and just observe. Become the observer and just move because you will be inspired to move. And that's what we want.
I just
and
thought
abundance,
that, oh, go ahead.
I would say this last thing, right? I met someone, as I said before, I didn't believe in money can grow on trees. Right? I was raised that money don't grow on trees. You got to work for it. You got to get a job. That was my belief system. But I met someone who money grows on trees for them. Every time they spend $1, $10 come in. $100. In fact, they don't have to even, in fact, the more they spend, the more they get. So they don't even have to go working for nothing anymore. And it's coming in consciously for them. I've never seen nothing like this. And all of them following a certain rules that exist for all of us in the physical realm. Somehow we all can see it and can attach to it, but they are attached to it. And it's the most amazing thing. So now I'm like, okay, how do I need to attach to it? But I need to attach to it in a constructive way because I don't care about the money. I care about the flow of the abundance in that way because I have abundance flow in other ways. I just want the flow of abundance to flow in that way. So I don't want ever, in fact, I want to get up in the morning and never for the rest of my life ever think about bills again. I don't care. Somebody said it's going to cost you $100,000 to do this. I'm like, do it. Because for that $100,000, I know I'm going to get $1 million back. I want that mentality and not worry about hustling to go get more of it. And they exist for all of us. Go ahead, Mia.
And that proves that it's a programming trying to program the subconscious of society to trick souls because money does grow on trees because money is made out of paper and all paper comes from trees. Well, not every.
I love that.
So it's like, right? So I'm grateful for my IQ. I'm grateful for my personality because imagine 28 years of doing this. I literally would have to meditate to come up with an answer to beat some of society's programming that people were so attached to. It was hurting them. And they said they had a goal. And I'm like, I can reprogram your brain in 3 to 5 sessions. You're holding on to this. You're going to make it 5 sessions. Why not let it be 3? And so I was like, wait a minute, I can change the brain. So I started telling them money's made of trees. Like money does grow on trees. It literally grows on trees. So who put the false pretense out there? But the identifying isn't necessary. Just telling the brain, no, don't think that. Right? Like, And I'm grateful that I'm Eastern medicine and neuroscience, because I knew what was going on with the Qi. But when it be time, like, it was how thing came from. My money limitations had come from honor, like making sure I didn't sell my soul to get the money, right? That kind of thing. So,
and that's, all of us are unique in that way. Would you say, Mia? We all have our unique perspective that allow us to attach to that that visionary nature, because it guide us there. We just want to be free to be able to shift and in any perspective, be open to anything is possible in your life. And I think, and that's why I would like to close on. I see we ran out of time. I want to close on this, that be free for the potential of anything is possible in your life, because it is. And if you go back to the fundamental principle, all I have to do is change my vibration. It's going to help me clear the platform, which is the mind, and the soul that has all the potential, right? God, whatever, is going to bring it in. If I can do that, put it to the test. And if I begin to see small changes in those areas that I'm able to let go of attachment for, we'll begin to see the success of our transformation. And so to all my family out there, go out and just be free to allow creation to conspire for you. I love you guys. Let's make this actionable for ourselves and for our family, and let's pass this wisdom down to others so they too can experience the abundance of society and the world has to offer them. I love you guys. You guys be amazing, and go forth and be abundant in all things constructive.